So I owe you guys a bit of an apology. I guess 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to do an interview with a very well-known sports photographer named Neil Leifer, and I was really proud of how that came out, and I decided to include it as part of the artist series that I do on this channel. Well, what happened was I put it up that morning, and a couple hours later, I had a phone call with Mr. Leifer, who had a pretty big disagreement with me on some of the ways that it was presented, and I have never deleted a video in the 10 years that I've made videos for this channel until now. I don't want to go into all of the details because that would be inappropriate to do in this forum, but I do have a tremendous amount of respect for Mr. Leifer, and I suggested I take the video down, and it was agreed upon that that was the right thing to do. And while I don't really totally agree with that, I do want to explain one thing that you need to understand. When I do these artist series videos, which are basically interviews with living photographers, they are collaborative in the sense that I am telling this story, but I'm not in the video. I'm doing that through the interview questions that I ask, and I put music and images and B-roll and stuff like that over it, and I tell that story. But it is collaborative because it's their story that I'm telling. And I always will have the utmost respect for the artists that I work with. And as much as it is disappointing, I think, because I got a lot of messages from people after I took that down. About 5,000 people got to see that video, and then I had to pull it. And I know that's frustrating. It's really frustrating for me, too. I had probably about 40 hours into that edit. I was really proud of it. I think it was one of the best videos that I've done for the artist series. But it's not just about me. It's also about the artist. And so I will always have respect for the artists that I work with. And if there is a disagreement on how that final thing comes out, I will have that discussion and make that call. And that's what happened in this instance. Now, I will not have that happen again. I put this together pretty fast. We were both at the Sony Can-Do event together, and I was really into it. I thought it was really cool, and unfortunately, that's not what I heard on the other end of the phone, and it's okay. It won't happen again, but it does lead me to my next point. I want to talk about the artist series. Now, if you are new to this channel, you don't know what that is. This is something that I started doing a couple years ago. It is a certain type of video that I do for this channel, and it is something that I do here, and they're interviews with living photographers, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I know that a lot of you are very passionate about it. In fact, the whole thing started as a crowdfunding project. That's how I funded the first 2 seasons. And it's something that I'm really excited about, and it's really important for me to do. But they are difficult to do, and they are expensive to do, because generally I have to travel to go interview an artist for that. So there's airfare, there's hotels, there's usually a rental car, there's meals while you're on the road, and you also have to factor in that at the same time, if I'm out on the road for a couple days doing that, nobody's in here in the studio doing work here. So they are difficult to do. And I guess after this last incident, it really kind of stung me. I knew it would, and I kind of moped about it for a couple days, actually. And it led me to question, like, why do I even put forth the effort to do these? Because there's a couple things. First of all, I mentioned the expense and the time that it takes to do them, but they don't get big views. They're just not that kind of a video. They don't get big views like a camera review will, or something that's probably more tentpole in terms of relevance of something that's happening in photography today. But that's not why I do them, and I think this is important to understand. It's a smaller audience that likes them, but that smaller audience, there's a lot of positivity and a lot of excitement and a lot of enjoyment that come from those videos. I enjoy doing them. They give me an opportunity to meet my heroes and be able to ask them questions. It really is kind of a dream come true in a way. And so I don't do them for the views. I do them because I think they're important. And I think the biggest reason that I think they're important, and this is the big one, is that they represent something that I think is starting to die off in terms of photography. And I'm not going to say it's a generational thing. It's kind of a society thing, and it's how photography has changed over the years and the way that, or the role that photography plays in our lives. And I believe that we're starting to lose touch with the excitement of all the things that came before us and led us up to this moment. The artists that are working today, what they're doing, what they're saying, what those voices represent. And that whole literature element of it, I think, is really starting to go away. And that's why I think the artist series is important to do. So having said that, and having a couple days to think about it, I am going to be doing season 3 of the artist series, and I've been working on this for a while, and I just haven't talked about it on here because I just want to make sure I have people in place. And I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. And I'm not going to say who's involved right now, but you will know shortly. But it looks like I'm going to be filming in one in June, and probably two in July. And we'll see where it kind of goes from there. So I'm hoping by maybe late summer that we have another round or another season of Artist Series videos. And I am excited about that. So the other issue that I've had with Artist Series when I filmed them before is then you leave the studio for a few days to go film these, and I was keeping everybody a secret until it was revealed as to who they were. And the problem with that is then you come back and you've got to edit and you're not talking about anything as it's going. And so it's really hard to sustain interest in things. So I'm going to do a little bit differently this time. And as best I can do, I'm going to do some vlogging while I go film these people and do a little behind the scenes. So you'll have a taste of what's coming. Because I also think it's more fun when you look at the Artist Series and have a little bit of a context of who the photographers are as they're coming out and you're familiar with their work. I think that's another big problem with the Artist Series living on a place like YouTube or even Facebook is that, this thumbnail will come up and it's somebody you've never heard of going to talk about their work. There's not much incentive to want to watch it. And so, unless you happen to know who they are and you're a fan. So that really decreases the size of a potential audience market for something like that. And so, again, I'm not doing those for big views, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about Artist Series today because it's something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I have to remember why I'm doing it and all that stuff. A couple other changes that are going to be coming up soon on the show, and I know a lot of you are going to be excited about this too. Photo assignments are coming back. Thank you for being patient with me. That was a lot of fun last year when we did those, but it was also, I wasn't happy about my workflow on those and how I was doing it. And I also wanted to just make sure they were growing in scope and that they were really fun for everybody and that they were something that were a little more sustainable than what I did last year. And so hopefully in the next month here, I'll have those ready. Hopefully a little sooner than that. We'll see how it goes. It's hard for me to promise because as soon as I say something, people hold me to it, and I understand. It means you're excited, and I am too. So that is coming back. Super excited about that. And then lastly, this studio. This has become a huge problem. It is a mess in here. I have clearly started to outgrow it in some ways. I don't have a choice. I need to stay here right now because what it costs to actually rent a space, it's not practical. But as I've been kind of going through that, I think part of my problem is that I've outgrown the space, but two, the organization in here is completely jive. It's awful. And I think most of you will relate to this. When you're a photographer, you end up with lots of little things and accoutrements and stuff. And where do you put those, and how is a system set up to keep those organized, whether that's film or lenses or camera bodies or SD cards or a mountain of things. When I start vlogging with gimbals, they tend to stay out. I'll come back from filming a video and it'll go on my desk and I'll pull the card out and I'll start editing and I'll do the video and I'll finish up. It doesn't really have anywhere to go and it's fine right there, so I move on. The next day I come back and that's still there and something else arrives. And so pretty soon the desk is full of clutter. And so this has got to stop. And I thought it might be kind of interesting because there's really no time to like stop making videos to completely overhaul this thing. I thought it might be interesting to kind of do this in sections across videos because I think it would be really cool to get feedback from you guys for ideas on certain things, and it could be kind of fun to do. So that'll be coming up in the next week. I'm really looking forward to that. So anyway, a lot of stuff coming up, but I did want to mention photo assignments and in particular the Artist Series because that's something that's really been bothering me, and I just think it helps to talk about it, but also to let you guys know sort of what happened, and I really do feel bad about that. So it will not happen again. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, later.